Huddersfield Borough Council. 28 blocks, population over 7,000 people. Today, no more people live here than when all this was slums. The new shapes look tidy and well disposed, but it's the people inside them who have to call them a home, who have to find a sense of belonging.
As soon as I get up, I usually put the kettle on, a cup of tea, that's first, and then I dodge round and do me a little bit of work, and then about 10 o'clock I go do a little walk all round, do a bit of shopping, which takes me about an hour and a half, and then I come back again, have a bit of lunch, and then do little odds and ends, and then by that time the television starts. I'll start watching television at 4:30 until about 12 o'clock, and then I go to bed. That's all my entertainment, really. That's the only thing I've got. Of course, I only see my family. My daughter once in about 6 weeks because she lives so far away. And of course, I have the wireless as well. But I prefer television. It doesn't seem so lonely. You feel somehow you've got somebody in the room.
Now, we're here on the 15th floor. How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
The girl's 8, the boy's 7.
And what's it like bringing children up right up
It's
here?
terrible, there's nowhere for them to play. You can't always take them downstairs, so most of the time they're shut up.
I mean, what goes through your mind at night when you look out?
Well, you just don't look out the window, do you? It's a bit depressing to keep looking out there. Just ignore it.
What's it like bringing young children up in a tower block?
Very difficult because of they haven't got anywhere to play. I've got an older one, about 5, and she likes to go and play outside. I'm always worried, and there's been a few instances recently about men accosting the children on the estate and in the underground garages. So you can't really watch them, even though I don't live very far up. And this one, he just wants to go out and play in the garden, and you just can't let him. We go to parks a lot.
Now, were you surprised when you read in the paper that someone had flung themselves off a tower block in Birmingham?
No, because I think, I've just been away on holiday, so I feel quite relaxed now. But before I went, I was I got very tense, and the lifts weren't working then, and I had to walk up and down stairs. And it's not natural for children, because when we were in the country, they were out playing all day.
They just got each other to argue with all the time, because they can't get out to play on their own, and I just won't let them go out, not living as far up here. So, they just get on one another all the time, and you're shouting at them, and you just don't know what to do with them, It's just not fair to be stuck here.
I mean, have you heard of couples parting in these flats?
Yeah, a lot, yeah. Someone's always, they've got no father, or people just want to move away from here. Just can't stand the stress of being stuck up in a tower block.
There's lots of people on pills and things. Lots of Valium and Librium around here. Even sort of quite together mothers, I think.
How do you find living up here?
I don't like it, just don't, and I'm dying to get out of it. And as the other 2 ladies said, it's not right for the kids and older people. That's what I strongly disagree with. And the lifts are always breaking down.
And do you find that your nerves suffer bringing a child up at this home?
Yeah, because my little boy, he always wanted to go downstairs, and I can't let him go down there on his own because he's only 4. And he likes to climb up and look through the windows. And I find I'm always shouting at him. I mean, you can't really play with this one. She's too small, so it's just him alone.
Were you surprised when you heard that somebody had jumped off a high block to their death?
No, because it's happening in this estate already.
No lady?
Yes, no lady from, I think, the next block done it. So I wasn't surprised.
Since we've moved in the flats, I've noticed a great change in the children. They seem to have got a lot quieter, Where we used to live we had our old house, the yard, and the children was out there all day playing. But now I can't even get them to go out there. You know, I think they're a bit frightened to go down in the lifts, or when they are downstairs playing, which we've got a small play park. Well, the wall's so low that if they get up, you know, they can fall over. And my boys are very interested in football, but they're not allowed to play football, you know, in the play park. So what they do, they go through a hole in the fence because the door's always locked, and one keeps an eye out for the caretaker. You're always worried what they will get up to. You know, they can be led astray, very easy, little children. If they're told to do something, they just go and do it. I am worried about that. But I'm worried about everything where flats are concerned. Everything, the fact you cannot get down to them if anything does happen to them. And if someone did get hold of them, the time you've got down there, the damage is done.
They do have to get out and play, or else they'd be shutting doors all the time. It's obvious they haven't got a garden here, but they do cater for them with the playrooms. There's not one to every floor, but you can share it through the fire escape, which is quite good if they can get down to them. They keep locking the doors now and again. But they're not allowed to take balls down because of the window, and they think that'd be a bit too much.
Well, when they're playing indoors in the flat, they have to play quiet games because, well, you get complaints all the time. They've got to play over soldiers or cars. They're not allowed to jump. Staying in the flat, there's just nothing for him to do, really. He has a new carpentry set, and he's never even played with it yet. Because the day he did play with it, we had the council come down and complain about the noise. But if they go over the park where they just run wild, they love it because they can have their bikes. They also can play football, but they cannot go unless I take them. And that's only when they're on school holidays. I do manage to take them every day because I leave me work and I take them for the whole day, and they go mad. They don't want to come home, and I'm there till 7 o'clock at night sometimes, from 9:30 in the morning, where they just run wild. They can play with their bikes, they can go in the water, they can do anything they like without anybody saying, you mustn't go there, you mustn't do this, and you mustn't do that. They're free, and they feel free, and they really do enjoy themselves.
And she said to me, it screams out of slums. Oh, I was really indignant. I just moved in here. I don't know now. I think maybe she was right, you know. There's a lot to be said for giving people a decent place to live in. I don't know who designs them. I don't know who they design them for, or if they think that we feel or think any differently than they do. There must be reasons why these architects build these flats in this design and this hard barrack-looking way, because I'm sure they couldn't possibly like the structure and the outlook of them themselves. I don't think there was an awful lot of thought put into it. If they would have only consulted ordinary people who have to live in these places, what we would like. It's not a lot we would like. But we do like the same things they enjoy. They like the outside of their places to look nice, and so do we. We don't differ in any way to them. Surely that in time somebody will learn to come and ask the ordinary people what they'd like and how they would like them. But I don't think you'll ever get the feeling of the community feeling that we had here. You'll never get it in flats, I'm sure of this, because they're not real, they're not like houses. This is all sort of artificial now. It's, well, I don't think I'm ever going home anymore. I always think I'm just there temporarily. I don't know why, I always think this. One of the things about living in a house, in a street, you had friends, you had neighbours, you had your next door neighbours, you had your neighbours over the garden wall. You were individuals. You could paint your front door what colour you liked. You could paint your bricks if you wanted to. You could have what coloured curtains you liked. You were an individual. When you live in a flat, you're not. You've got to conform, and really conform, or else you're out. You see, we were all crowded on top of one another here, but we still had room to move and breathe, and you could see, you were down to earth. This is what it is, really, isn't it?
When we first found out we was moving, it was obvious we wouldn't get a house. I mean, it's everyone's dream to get a house, really, but being young and only having a couple of children, that's obvious we wouldn't get one. So we thought it was bound to be either a flat or a maisonette. But I had asked for a maisonette because I've always fancied that. As I said, you know, it's like being in a house once you get inside. It was a bit of a surprise when I first came to view it to find out we was in the big block, which I first thought were flats, and they turned out to be maisonettes. And we are on the 9th floor. I've been living here about 4 months now, comparing it with where I used to live. It's a palace. It's a right dump, and everything about it here is a lot better. Bathroom for a start, and the sink. We never had a sink at the other place. We had to cook in the toilet, where there was this small bath. And the children have got their own room now, which is very nice for us, as well as them. We can also play quite a lot. There's been a few complaints about noise from other tenants, but I think it's mainly the older ones whose children have grown up, or the few that haven't got any children at all. I can understand, but I don't think everyone will be all friendly and happy and laughing together just because we're all living together, because it's obvious. I mean, I don't really know anyone on the next floor, and I don't, you know, it's just I know someone in the next block, but that's only because she lived near me where we used to live. I think we tend to just stick to our own landings. We haven't got around to having, you know, like social evenings or anything like that. Whether anyone will start it up, I don't know.
No, I better be going. Otherwise I'm going to be late.
Yeah, you don't. Come on. What time are you going?
About 6.
All right. Bye. Been living in J Court now for 3 years. I don't like it. It's very secluded. You know, once you're in, you're in. The kids are not happy. I'm not happy. But we had to come here. We didn't have no alternative. The house we were living in was actually falling down, and the councilman came round, and I did ask for a house, but he said I didn't qualify, being I have only 2 children. So this was it. I had to take this flat. I didn't have a choice. These flats, well, there's nothing here. In the new flats, they've got playrooms for the children, but in these flats, there's nothing at all for the children to play. They've either got to stay in and get complaints from neighbours, and myself always having goes at them about making a noise, or they can go downstairs, and then I'm a bag of nerves because they're downstairs playing. The main thing that does worry me about flats is the fact you can't have animals, and my children have been brought up with animals. We had a poodle, we've had rabbits, and we've had cats. Now all they've got now is a bird and fish. Well, they'd love a dog, but they just can't have one in flats. But it's very secluded, this place. I say you can't meet anybody. You can't go out on the doorstep and have a chat because there's just no one to chat to. I've been a bag of nerves since we've lived here, you know. I've completely changed. I used to be a happy-go-lucky person, well now I'm not. I'm quite miserable, you know, and it has changed me and the children an awful lot.
We've been living in this flat for 14 years, you know, just over 14 years. Because, you know, obviously the area around's changed quite a lot. And I've changed quite a bit inside the flat. There are some things in the flat that I can't change, but I would like to change. But the council won't allow us to do this.
Every flat they built is the same. And I don't like saying this, I don't like to be exactly the same as my neighbours. So I think to have a home that's different to fetch your children, you've got to make changes.
But I like to be a little bit different from this out next door, you know, and you can't alter the place structurally, but at least you can alter some of the things inside. And that is why, you know, I made the fireplace there, the wooden fireplace, to replace the original one. Which, if you saw the old fireplace behind it, it's rather the same in every flat, and it's rather like a gents' toilet. And I didn't like this a bit, you know, but I made this myself as an alteration. but it isn't fixed. It is only a temporary, it's standing there and it's stand up on its own steam. I couldn't fix it because if I did fix it, the council would be after my blood. You're not allowed to make any alterations, even if they're improvements, according to the council. And the other thing was the ceiling, of course. On the ceiling, the original ceiling, there was a plaster up there which rejected everything that you put onto it, doesn't matter what it was. Eventually, what I had to do, I had to stick the plastic type tiles, as you see on the ceiling now, I stick those up there to completely cover it up, because nothing will take on the ceiling itself.
Plus the fact it's a bit more decorative, isn't it?
It's a bit of a battle. We're trying to change the flat, and the flat's changed us a bit as well. But I think this is, you can't avoid this. I say, if you don't become a flat dweller living in the flats, I think you finish up with a mental institution very quickly.
We adapt ourselves to way of living in flats after being here 14 years. You have to live as a flat person. Although if you live in a street, you're just, you've got neighbours, you can go and knock on doors, but in flats you're just so lonely that you just get used to it in the end. You just can't take people from a house and put them in a flat and say get on with it. You just can't do it, it's not done. You've got to have some sort of freedom. If these people have had freedom and they're closed into a flat, they're going to be a bundle of nerves like I am.
I should imagine, judging from myself, once your husband goes to work, all you've really got left to do is the housework. I think the husbands, as well as having their jobs to go to each day, they usually got quite a lot of friends. They always got someone to talk to and chat to. 9 times out of 10 they come home, have their dinner and fall asleep. It's because they've had plenty to talk about all day and they're tired. I never feel really lonely because, as I say, there's always someone walking along or pops their head round, come in, have a chat and that. But I think it would be a hell of a lot harder if you wanted to spend a day on your own. Yeah, I'd always thought of flats as being lonely type places, You'd hear the people going in and closing the door and that's all they'd see until their husband come home at night. And on the actual day of moving in, everyone seemed to be unloading and packing up together, and we all got chatting and, do you want a cup of tea and all this, but lucky enough we all stayed friends after, and so it didn't turn out to be as lonely as I thought.
I mean, you move out of these flats to get into these flats, so you'll be settled and you won't have a nervous breakdown,
Yeah.
But when you come into this, it's just as bad because you can't let the kids play, can you?
Look what the caretaker said when he came up about the children playing on the ground, on the landing. No children on the landing. I'm in the playroom or in the house.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So what have you got to do?
Yeah.
You go to the playroom, they're locked in, or there's somebody down there saying, children from the night floor, you're not allowed to use it.
Personally, I feel safer here than I've ever done before, and if ever you're not feeling very well or something, you know that you've only got to just give a little bit of a shout out. Someone would always come and help you. You're never alone. As soon as you walk out in the morning, there's always someone there. They say hello. I don't know many people on the other floors, but I couldn't really say whether they're as friendly or not. Must admit, you don't see them standing around talking as much as us. And maybe this is why we've had a few complaints about it being noisy up here. But I'd rather have it than being completely on my own all day.
I feel very shut in this flat. I feel like a prisoner, at times. I sit and cry sometimes, or I get so fed up with myself. There's nothing to do once you're in there. And you've got no one to speak to, no one comes and visits you. Because we're up 11th floor, and a lot of people don't like the lifts. So I don't see anybody. There's only 4 people living on the land, and they all go to work. So once I'm in there, that's it. It's quite impossible here, really. Because opposite we've got an old lady living there, and I'm young and she's old. We've just got nothing in common, you see. But I have one friend opposite the other side, but she goes out to work all day, so I don't really get much chance to talk to her.
People who suffer the most for the lack of facility on the estate are obviously the children and the old people. I mean, there's a world of difference now. I mean, when I was a kid, I was what was known as a street raker at the time. I was out in the streets playing all the time. And you could play out on the streets in those days because there wasn't the traffic there is now for a start. But you felt free. Nobody was there chasing you. You know, you might get chased if you broke a window and then they go with your ball, but nobody chased you because you were making a noise specifically. And nowadays, kids mustn't go outside and mustn't stomp their feet more than twice before somebody's after them and want to know what's going all about.
We haven't got this problem now, our daughter's grown up, but we still feel for the parents and the children that, you know, there's just nothing for them to do anymore. My daughter, she just didn't like the flats because there was no freedom at all, and as she got older, she resented, you know, that there's no noise, you must have no noise in the flats, and she, like every teenager, they ought to have their records playing, which she did have, but very softly. And she always said when she got married, she didn't want to live in a flat, and away she went down to Windsor, she's living now, but I don't think she'll ever come back to London again, because she doesn't want her children up in the same way she was brought up.
She seems to prefer to build garages rather than playing space for children. There's in between each of the large blocks down there, there's a garage space on the basement, a load of garages on, and there's above that on the ground floor level there's another line of garages, all built underground, you know, undercover. One of those, or even half of that space would have made a marvellous club room there, been all built in ready, you know, it was part of what they were building, the estate they were building it. This would have been the ideal way of doing it, but apparently material seems to worth more than children today to these people in authority.
This is 20th century man. This is his natural habitat. Today, no more people live here than when all this was slums. The new shapes look tidy and well disposed, but it's the people inside them who have to call them a home, who have to find a sense of belonging.
Bye, have a great time.